Ever feel like the world runs on open source software?
It kind of does.
Because it kind of does. But here's the thing, right? How do you make sure all that amazing code created by, these brilliant minds all over the place, how do you make sure it actually works with like your company's security and compliance stuff?
Yeah.
It's a lot, right?
It's like trying to herd 1,000 digital cats. Each one's got its own, personality, its own little quirks.
Oh, yeah.
And just when you think you've got them all figured out, bam, new release. Back to square one.
Ugh. Yeah, tell me about it. I've been there digging through documentation, trying to figure out what's what.
And it's not just a headache for like the tech people. This is software that's like running everything,
Yeah.
right? From banks to, medical devices, all this stuff.
Right, it's everywhere.
It's got to be secure. It's got to be compliant. But figuring that out shouldn't feel like trying to like decipher a secret code.
Okay, so what's the solution? Because I am ready for someone to make this whole process way less painful.
Well, that's where OSCAL comes in.
OSCAL.
The Open Security Controls Assessment Language.
Okay, OSCAL, that sounds very official.
It is, and trust me, it's pretty groundbreaking. Think of it like this. Imagine if we had a universal translator for security and compliance, right?
Huh?
Like two systems might describe the same security thing in totally different ways.
Yeah.
One might use all this crazy jargon. The other one sounds like it was written for a 5-year-old. OSCAL comes in, creates a common language they both get.
So no more deciphering like the technical stuff or, like you said, trying to translate between totally different systems.
Exactly.
That's huge.
And here's the best part. Ready? It's built to be machine readable.
Oh, okay.
That means we can automate a lot of the manual compliance checks that are just slowing everyone down.
Okay, I like that.
Alerts flagging you about potential problems, like as they happen, instead of you spending weeks and weeks going through spreadsheets.
Now that is what I'm talking about. Automation for the win. If you want to stay ahead of things, that's it. Right.
Absolutely. And it's not just some, far-off idea. NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they're all over this thing,
Oh, wow, okay.
giving it some real weight, making it much more likely that everyone's going to be using it.
That's a big deal. Having that kind of backing, it makes it legit. It makes people actually want to use it.
Right,
But, I mean, with any new technology, there's always going to be a few bumps in the road.
right.
So are we talking like minor speed bumps or like are we talking major roadblocks here with OSCAL?
That is the million-dollar question. And luckily for you, we're about to dive headfirst into all the nitty-gritty. Let's just say OSCAL, it could be huge, but it's not without its challenges.
So we've got this awesome tool, OSCAL, that's trying to, bring some order to the Wild West of open source security.
Right.
And now there's this group of like really ambitious developers, and they're taking it even further with this new project. And honestly, I'm kind of excited about it. Tell me more about it. Like, why is this a big deal?
What's so cool about this project is, like you said, it's ambitious. Yeah.
Not just, messing around. They're trying to build a future where compliance for this open source software is practically like automatic.
Hold on, did you say automatic? Because as someone who has spent way too much time with spreadsheets, the idea of automated compliance, that's like, yes, sign me up.
Get ready for a symphony, right?
Why?
So picture this. You need some software, yeah. You're working on a project. You find this perfect open source library, and you're like, yes, this is it. You drop it in, boom. The system automatically checks if it's compliant with all your company's rules, everything.
Wow.
Green light, good to go. Red flag. You get an alert, tells you what's wrong, tells you how to fix it.
Oh, okay.
No more like, checking everything by hand. No more second guessing. It's just like efficient.
Okay, I need to see this in action. How are they actually making this happen? Like, what's the magic behind this automation?
They're coming at it from a few different angles, but the goal is to make OSCAL, user-friendly and powerful.
One of the main things they're doing is they're building what they call an API exchange specification.
Okay, time for a quick translation for those of us who don't speak fluent API. What does that even mean? Why should we care about this?
Yeah, sometimes tech people get a little carried away with the jargon.
It's true.
Basically, it's a standardized way to get different systems talking to each other about all this compliance information. Imagine you've got your company's big rule book, your security policies, you've got the scanners that the developers are using,
right?
And then you've got these OSCAL files that describe how secure each open source project is. Right now, getting those to all play nice is I don't know, herding cats again.
Yeah.
This API exchange thing, it's like a translator for these systems, right?
Yeah.
Lets them share information instantly and just check if things are compliant in real time.
So instead of like checking each piece of software against a million different things, this
Mhm.
does it all for you.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
saves a ton of time. And to make sure it's not all, mysterious, they're putting a ton of work into making documentation, explaining how it all works.
Okay, go ahead.
They even have this really cool diagram, almost like a roadmap, and it breaks the whole process down, shows you how everything connects.
I like that.
You don't got to be like a security expert to understand it.
I love that they're really focusing on making it easy to use and transparent. Like they're saying, here's how it works. Come on in, take a look.
Yeah. And speaking of come on in, one of the things that excites me most is it's open source.
Oh, I love that.
It's not, some big secret project. It's everyone working together.
Yeah, it's not just a project, it's a community.
Totally. They've got this really active Slack channel. Developers are always throwing around ideas. There's a Google group for deeper dives. They even have like bi-weekly meetings anyone can join.
That's awesome.
It just shows what open source can do, people coming together to solve a problem.
That's awesome. But let's be real for a second. We've talked a lot about, the good stuff with OSCAL and this project.
Right.
Are there any downsides?
Right.
Is it smooth sailing from here? Or are there some potential problems?
That's the big question, isn't it? And like most things, the answer is not a simple yes or no. OSCAL's got huge potential, but it's not perfect. There are some challenges, some criticisms that we got to talk about.
All right, let's rip the Band-Aid off. What are the potential downsides to OSCAL? How could they affect this project's success?
Yeah.
So are we talking like minor speed bumps here? Or like, could OSCAL actually be more trouble than it's worth?
Not necessarily. Remember we were talking about how OSCAL can break things down into smaller chunks?
Yeah, the modularity thing.
Right. That's one way it deals with this. You don't have to do everything at once.
Because instead of like trying to eat the whole pie in one bite.
Exactly. Plus, the automation we talked about, that's getting better too. There are always new tools popping up to make it easier to handle all this OSCAL data.
So it's getting easier to use. That's good. But I mean, being realistic, any new system, there's going to be a learning curve.
Oh, for sure.
What would you say to someone who's on the fence about OSCAL? Like,
Yeah.
why should they bother, even with the challenges?
It comes down to this. What's the alternative? You want to stick with doing everything manually? Spreadsheets back and forth between security and the devs?
Yeah, no one wants to be stuck doing that forever.
That doesn't really scale, especially with how much everyone's using open source. OSCAL, yeah, there's a learning curve, but it's like an investment.
Okay, I like that. An investment in, what, like a more secure future?
A more secure and efficient future. That's the whole point.
It's like, I don't know, it's like learning a new skill, right?
Yeah.
Takes a little effort up front, but then it makes your life easier in the long run.
Totally. But even with all this, there's still a piece missing. Something we got to figure out if we want OSCAL to really reach its potential, especially for open source.
Okay, now I got to know, what's the missing piece?
We touched on it before. Machine readability. Aki's good at making security information digital, but not always in a way that computers can actually use well.
Right. You mentioned that. It's not just about having the information in a computer. It's about making sure the computer can actually understand it, right?
Exactly. Think about it like, I don't know, trying to teach a self-driving car using hand-drawn maps.
Okay.
The information's there, but the car needs it in a format it can actually process. You know what I mean? OSCAL, right now, it's kind of like those hand-drawn maps. Got to take it a step further.
So how do we do that? How do we make OSCAL like speak fluent machine?
Optimization. We need simpler formats, less redundancy, stuff that's easier for computers to handle. And we need everyone to agree on like a core set of data elements so everyone's on the same page.
So it's kind of like creating a universal language, but for security.
Yeah.
One that both humans and machines can work with.
That's cool. And it's a big deal. Imagine like all these security tools talking to each other, sharing information, spotting risks without us even have to do anything.
That sounds pretty futuristic.
That's the dream, right? A fully machine-readable security world. And this project, it's a huge step in that direction.
This has been a really fascinating deep dive.
Agreed.
I'm really glad we got to talk about this. So to our listeners, if you're interested in learning more about OSCAL and this project, make sure to check out the show notes. We'll have links to everything there. And hey, maybe you'll be the one to help build this machine-readable future. Until next time, keep on diving.